वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। Hare Krishna. Continuing our study from the 13th chapter entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. So, in the last section, we saw conversation between Maharaj Yudhishthir and Vidur. So, how Vidurji is being glorified by all the members of the Pandavas and the Kuru dynasty. Each and every one glorified. They welcomed and gave respect as if they are treating the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastra. So, a pure devotee of the Lord, a representative of the Lord, they should be given all respects. I am forced to say something, Manoram Prabhu. Should I say? I hope you don't mind. You are an initiated devotee. Yes, you are at your residence without tilak.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I'll put it Prabhuji from tomorrow class.
See, that means the devotional aspect has not entered the heart. You see, Manani Mataji, she is having tilak. You are still feeling shy of wearing tilak in your life. It is. I'll share one instance. I was initiated. I was not even initiated. I don't remember whether I was initiated or not. I think I was not initiated. And I came from my office to the temple, of course, wearing shirt, pant, and in the formal office dress. And I met one devotee. And he saw me without tilak and he chastised me so heavily. He said that the forehead, which is not having tilak, is like a dead body. You are carrying your dead body everywhere. So that is not good. Even you have heard that real story that once in an organization, everyone used to come in the Vaishnava dress because the owner was a Vaishnava. So to impress him, most of the employees, they used to wear tilak, kanthi, dhoti, kurta, and they come. Somehow some trouble happened and that owner, that Vaishnava, had to sell his company to someone who was a non-devotee. And when his company was sold to a non-devotee, the first order he made is that those who are thinking that they are devotee, if they come in a devotee dress, they will not be allowed entry inside the campus. They can keep their practice outside my premises. This is the place of work, not a place of worship. So they have to work here. If they want to worship, they can remain in their house. So next day, what he saw, everyone else changed. No one was wearing dhoti kurta, no one was wearing kanti, no one was wearing tilak. But going around, he found one person still unchanged. And he asked that person, did you not row? What is the new rule? He said, I know. Then don't you know that you will not be allowed to get in? You will lose your job. Well, I don't mind losing the job, but I will not change. This is my nature. This is my existence. So the new owner He was a Muslim. He was very pleased. And he said, you are the only person who is actually a devotee. And for you, there is no new dress code. And all other were making show. So in our core of our heart, what we are doing, Krishna knows. Initiated person after taking bath, how can he be without tilak? Unless and until you have to go and meet your director or someone who can directly point out. They will also not directly point out. No one will directly point out. But the problem is we don't have the conviction in our heart that we are a devotee or we want to aspire to be a devotee. We want to still remain like a karmi, a materialist person. And how things will change? How situations will change? When we are not willing to change and we want the world to change. This is the problem. This is the problem with each and everyone in Kali Yuga. He wants that everything else, the world should change. And he wants himself to remain unchanged. That will never happen. That will never happen. The only change that we can do is bring that change in our own self. And if you bring that change, you will see everything else in the world will change. So please, it should never happen. If you compulsorily say, don't do something, I don't want you to burn your hands and putting your hand in fire and saying that I am fire prone. No, we are not. But based on the conviction, after that I wore tilak throughout my career. I went to Mumbai. My boss came from Dubai, and I was wearing tilak. So he asked me कि यार तुम्हारा तिलक तो बहुत तगड़ा है. मैंने कहा वो वैसे ही रहेगा. He said, okay, that's okay with me. He understood. Do you not see many South Indians wearing their tilak in all places? Does the rule change for them? Huh? It is all about inner conviction. Bhakti is all about internal change. Why do we wear tilak? What is the purpose of wearing tilak? Is to make the body suitable to perform devotional service. To invoke the presence of Lord on our forehead, on all parts of the body. Otherwise, what is body meant for? It will engage in sense gratification. So, the bhakti is very subtle. And the changes will also be according to, Krishna has already clearly said, Ye yatha mam prapadyanti. So we should have a practice. So every time we take bath, we should apply tilak. Because we don't have that conviction in our heart. So I don't push that you apply tilak when you go to the office, but at least water tilak you can apply. After taking bath, 12 tilaks must be applied. To purify the body, to make the body, at least theoretically, we are offering the body for Krishna for his devotional service. So at least qualify. By at least theoretically making it happen. By placing the tilak, we are at least agreeing that yes, I agree that this body can be utilized for devotional service. Otherwise, everyone thinking I am the owner of the body and the body is meant for enjoyment and I will enjoy. Who can stop me? So we should not be amongst those non-believers and non-devotees. I can only suggest, I can only request. Other choice is everyone's individual's own. But then we should not complain that nothing is happening. Nothing is changing. Why? Because we are not changing. We are very stubborn. We want to remain the way that we have been. You see Vidurji? No one was hearing him. He so many times pleaded to Dhritarashtra. He so many times pleaded to Duryodhana, but none of them adhered to him. So what he did? What did Vidurji do? Yes, Darshil?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, he left Prabhuji, he left for pilgrimage.
Yes, he left the place. He did not become a part of that conspiracy. If you don't agree, then what to do? Then you go your own way. And then what happened? What happened with Dhritarashtra? Now he is suffering. He lost all his sons. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is so much glorifying Vidurji. And he's saying that you went for places of pilgrimage. You yourself is the personality who glorifies, who sanctifies the places of pilgrimage. Tirtha Purnvanti Tirthani. So in this way, Vidurji is well received. This section of Srimad Bhagavatam is so much glorifying, as if there was a fresh lease of life in the lifeless Pandavas and Kauravas. We'll go forward. Thus, Mahatma Vidur, being treated just like a godly person by his kinsmen, remained there for a certain period just to rectify the mentality of his eldest brother. And thereby he brought happiness to all others. So there was a mission. Because it is said that Vidurji was always in the renounced order. He already took sannyas. Going to pilgrimage means he was in Vanprastha. He left the palace. He left the royal order. And then why did he come back? To enjoy the comforts of the palace? No. He had a mission. What was the mission? The mission was to rectify his eldest brother, Dhritarashtra. Actually, if you see, there is no preacher in the world as compared to the preaching effort of Vidurji. He preached to one person, Dhritarashtra. Until the time he was changed, he did not leave him. Actually, that is what a preacher should be. If he takes responsibility, unless and until he makes sure that, of course, the dependent also has to be, they should not be like a Dhritarashtra. In Kali Yuga, we will find more of Dhritarashtra type dependents. They will not agree. They will not follow. They will every time find excuses and they will disobey. But then one has to learn the lesson from Dhritarashtra. He lost everything. He lost his 100 sons. But even after that, Vidurji did not give up. He came back. This is what the spiritual master is. The spiritual master, he takes a very, very heavy responsibility. What is the heavy responsibility? That he takes the responsibility to deliver the disciple from the cycle of birth and death. Of course, he has to be a Sadhashishya. That he not does all nonsense. Prabhupada many times said that, why you want me to come back? Why you cannot come with me? So Vidurji comes back only for a sole purpose of Dhritarashtra's deliverance. And in this he brings happiness to all others. So now the background about Vidurji is mentioned here. Abhibharat Aryama Dandam Yathavad Aghakarishu Yavadadhara Sudratva Sapadvarsha Satam Yama. So we all know who is Vidurji. Vidurji is the Dharmaraj personified. As long as Vidur played the part of Shudra, being cursed by Munduk Mani, Aryama officiated at the post of Yamraj to punish those who committed sinful acts. So many times students ask us also. One student asked me very long back that when Yamraj became Vidur, so who did the function of Yamraj? That seat was vacant or what? Then nobody died? No, it is not like that. There is this personality called Aryama who took the position of Yamraj. And the same process of punishment for those who committed sinful acts continued. Vidur, born on the womb of a Shudra woman, was forbidden even to be the party of royal heritage along with his brother Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Then how could he occupy the post of a preacher to instruct such learned kings and Kshatriyas as Dhritarashtra and Maharaj Yudhishthira? So this question is being asked. Srila Prabhupada raises this question. The first answer is that even though it is accepted that he was a Shudra by birth, because he renounced the world for spiritual enlightenment by such an authority as Rishi Maitreya and was thoroughly educated by him in transcendental knowledge. He was quite competent to occupy the post of an acharya or spiritual preceptor. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anyone who is conversant in the transcendental knowledge or the science of God, be he a Brahmana or a Shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, is eligible to become a spiritual master. Very famous verse. Very famous verse. What is the verse? We should be knowing this verse. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's proclamation. He proved it. Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Kena Noy, Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, say Guru Hoy. It is there in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita commentary of 2.7. Prabhupada is talking about the spiritual masters. So it does not matter, well, what is the birth of the personality. What matters is how much he is in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. And where did Vidur receive the knowledge? He received from sage Maitreya. He was enlightened in the spiritual discourses as Rishi Maitreya and was thoroughly educated by him in transcendental knowledge. He was quite competent to occupy the post of an acharya or spiritual preceptor. Okay, so according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, anyone who is conversant in the transcendental knowledge of the science of Godhead, be he a Brahmana or a Shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, is eligible to become a spiritual master. Even in the ordinary moral codes, as stated by Chanakya Pandit, the great politician and moralist, there is no harm in taking lessons from a person who may be by birth less than a Shudra. This is one part of the answer. The other is that Vidura was not actually a Shudra. He was to play the part of a so-called Shudra for 100 years, being cursed by Manduk Mani. He was the incarnation of Yamraj, one of the 12 Mahajans on the level of such exalted personalities as Brahma, Narad, Shiva, Kapila, Bhishma, Prahlad, etc. Because Yamraj is a Mahajan, it is his duty to preach the cult of devotion to the people of the world, as Narad, Brahma and other Mahajans do. But Yamraj is always has very little time to take leave from his responsible office of punishing the wrongdoers. There are more wrongdoers than righteous men. Therefore, Yamraj has to do more work than other demigods, who are also authorized agents of the Supreme Lord. But he wanted to preach the glories of the Lord, and therefore by the will of the Lord, he was cursed by Munduk Mani to come into the world in the incarnation of Vidur and work very hard as a great devotee. Such a devotee is neither a Shudra nor a Brahmana. He is transcendental to such divisions of mundane society. Just as the personality of Godhead assumes his incarnation as a hog, but is neither a hog nor a Brahma. He is above all mundane creatures. The Lord and his different authorized devotees sometimes have to play the role of many lower creatures to claim the conditioned soul. Prabhupada says, see, the Lord and his different authorized devotees sometimes have to play the role of many lower creatures to claim the conditioned souls. But both the Lord, that is a line in his Gopinath song, Jivere Karan, Asiya Prapanche, Lila Kailo Suvistar. Just to deliver the conditioned soul, the Supreme Lord, he has to appear in so many forms. And many times the forms, as it is being said here, is in a lower species of life also. But both the Lord and the pure devotees are always in the transcendental position. When Yamraj thus incarnated himself as Vidura, his post was officiated by Aryama, one of the many sons of Kashyapa and Aditi. So these are all demigods. The Adityas are son of Aditi, and there are 12 Adityas. Aryama is one of the 12 Adityas. And therefore it was quite possible for him to take charge of the office of Yamraj during his 100 years absence in the form of Vidur. So we should learn to take leave from Vidurji. From the office, how long he took leave for? 100 years. You will not speak. All three of you will not speak. Because in your heart, you never have this desire to take leave. Nothing will change. And why he wanted to take leave? What is the purpose of taking leave? Vanini Mataji? Why Vidurji took leave?
प्रभु जी श्राप की वजह से, मंडूक मुनि के श्राप की वजह से।
दोबारा पढ़िए। आपने सुना नहीं सही से। क्यों उन्होंने लीव लिया? क्या आप लोग सुनते हैं? सही से सुनते नहीं है? देखिए मैं फिर पढ़ता हूँ। देखिए प्रभुपाद जी पूरा इसका खुलासा कर रहे हैं। देखिए कितना लिखा है, साफ लिखा है। Prabhupada लिख रहे हैं, therefore Yamraj has to do more work than other demigods who were authorized agents of the Supreme Lord. But he wanted to preach the glories of the Lord. And therefore, by the will of the Lord, he was cursed by Manduk Muni to come into the world in the incarnation of Vidura. Actually, this is what matter moves around the heart. कर्स वर्थ तो सब एक्सटर्नल है, ये तो सब एक, this became the reason for him to come here. But what was the intent? What was the internal position? That he had a desire to preach. And Krishna, as Antaryami, he was very pleased with the desire. And he made arrangement. So what happened externally? Mundak Muni cursed him so that his desire could be fulfilled. This is what we have to understand. My dear devotees, please understand this very, very important subtlety in Krishna consciousness. If we actually have desire to serve Krishna, be it anything, be it preaching, be it book distribution, be it prasad distribution, fund collection, whatever, yatra, if you have the desire, genuine desire in your heart to please and serve Krishna, Krishna will make all arrangements. That curse is an arrangement of Krishna so that he could come here and fulfill his desire of preaching. And whom he selected to preach? Someone who was even condemned by Krishna. How much Krishna disliked the Kauravas. And the head of the Kauravas, who for his lifetime created trouble for the most dear devotees of Krishna, who was destined to go to hell forever. To such a person, Vidurji made it possible for him to go to the Vaikuntha world. Can we find anyone, any student or any newcomer to the magnitude of Dhritarashtra, whom we are, whom we can imagine to preach and convert? And what aparadh he has done against the pure devotees, the Pandavas, the most atrocious offenses he has committed. But by the purity of Mahatma Vidur and his pure desire, even such a offender like Dhritarashtra was delivered. Prabhupada is saying the Lord and his devotees sometimes have to play the role of a many lower creatures to claim the conditioned soul. But both the Lord and the pure devotees are always in transcendental position. When Yamraj thus incarnated himself as Vidura, his post was officiated by Aryama, one of the many sons of Kashyapa and Aditi. The Adityas are son of the Aditi, and there are 12 Adityas. What did Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Amongst the Adityas, what is he? In the 10th chapter, Krishna claims that amongst the 12 Adityas, what does Krishna say he is? Who remembers? Pradeep, you're joining very late.
Prabhuji, I think we went to one ISKCON center. Point.
Says Adityanam Aham Vishnu. Krishna says Adityanam Aham Vishnu. And that Vishnu incarnation is the Vaman. As Vaman. He is born as a Vaman there. It is there in the 10th chapter. Krishna says Adityanam. Ramya is not watching.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Bolo. You don't remember?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm not remembering.
देख लो book खोल के. Adityanam Aham Vishnu. This is where Krishna begins. 21st verse. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal among them. Prabhupada is giving only this much, that there are 12 Adityas. Here also Prabhupada is mentioning that there are 12 Adityas. And one of them is Aryama. With Kashyap and Aditi, all the 12 sons, they are the demigods. And with Aditi and Diti, the sons they are all demons. And therefore, it was quite possible for him to take charge of the office of Yamaraj during his 100 years absence in the form of Vidur. The conclusion is that Vidur was never a Shudra, but he was greater than the purest types of Brahmana. Yudhishthiro labdha rajyo dishtva potram kulam dharam bhratbir lokapala bhe mumude paraya shriya. Having won his kingdom and observed the birth of one grandson, competent to continue the noble tradition of his family, Maharaj Yudhishthir reigned peacefully and enjoyed uncommon opulence in cooperation with his younger brothers, who were all expert administrators to the common people. Both Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjuna were unhappy from the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra. But even though they were unwilling to kill their own men in the fight, it had to be done as a matter of duty, for it was planned by the supreme will of Lord Sri Krishna. After the battle, Maharaj Yudhishthir was unhappy over such mass killings of human beings and animals. Practically, there was none to continue the Kuru dynasty after them. The Pandavas, the only remaining hope was the child in the womb of his daughter-in-law Uttara, and he was also attacked by Ashwathama. But by the grace of the Lord, the child was saved. So after the settlement of all disturbing conditions and re-establishment of the peaceful order of the state, and after seeing the surviving child, Parikshit, well satisfied, Maharaj Yudhishthir felt some relief as a human being, although he had very little attraction for material happiness, which is always illusory and temporary. So, of course, we see that Parikshit was born and he was rescued by Krishna. Evam graheshu saktanam pramattanam tad ihaya atyakramad avignata kala parma dustara. Insurmountable eternal time imperceptibly overcomes those who are insane, attached to family affairs, and are always engrossed in their thoughts. This is the glory of Maharaj Yudhishthir is being spoken. That although he was in the householder life, but he was not too attached. But those who are attached, what is their situation is being mentioned here. That they are always thinking, what is their thought? That I am now happy, I have everything in order, my bank balance is quite enough, and I can now give my children enough estate. I am now successful. The poor beggar sannyasis depend on God, but they come to beg from me. Therefore, I am more than the Supreme God. These are some of the thoughts which engross the insanely attached householders, who is blind to the passing of eternal time. So the importance of time is being discussed here. Our duration of life is measured, and no one is able to enhance it even by a second against the scheduled time ordained by the Supreme Will. Such valuable time, especially for the human being, should be cautiously spent, because even a second passed without imperceptibly cannot be replaced, even in exchange of thousands of golden coins amassed by hard labor. Every second of human life is meant for making an ultimate solution to the problems of life, that is repetition of birth and death, revolving in the cycle of 8,400,000 different species of life. The material body, which is subject to birth and death, disease and old age, is the cause of all sufferings of the living beings. Otherwise, the living being is eternal. He is never born, nor does he ever die. Foolish persons forget this problem. They do not know at all how to solve the problems of life, but become engrossed in temporary family affairs, not knowing that eternal time is passing away imperceptibly, and that their measured duration of life is diminishing every second. Without any solution to the big problem, namely repetition of birth and death, disease, and old age, this is called illusion. But such illusion cannot work on one who is awake in the devotional service of the Lord. Yudhishthir Maharaj and his brothers, the Pandavas, were all engaged in the service of the Lord Shri Krishna, and they had very little attraction for the illusionary happiness of this material world. As we have discussed previously, Maharaj Yudhishthir was fixed in the service of the Lord Mukunda, the Lord who can award salvation, and therefore he had no attraction even for such comforts of life as are available in the kingdom of heaven. Because even the happiness obtained on the planet Brahmalok is also temporary and illusory. Because the living being is eternal, he can be happy only in the eternal abode of kingdom of God, Paravyoma, from which no one returns to this region of repeated birth and death, disease and old age. Therefore, any comfort of life or any material happiness which does not warrant an eternal life is but illusion for the eternal living being. One who factually understands this is learned, and such a learned person can sacrifice any amount of material happiness to achieve the desired goal known as Brahma Sokham, or absolute happiness. Real transcendentalists are hungry for this happiness, and as a hungry man cannot be made happy by all comforts of life minus foodstuff, so the hungry man for eternal abode, so the hungry man for eternal absolute happiness cannot be satisfied by any amount of material happiness. Therefore, the instructions described in this verse cannot be applied to Maharaj Yudhishthir or his brothers and mothers. It was meant for persons like Dhritarashtra, for whom Vidur came specially to impart lessons. So the attachment of Dhritarashtra is still continued. One moment.
प्रभु जी आप म्यूटेड हैं।
So we see the glory of those who are in devotional practice. They are not attached like ordinary householders. And so is the example given of Maharaj Yudhishthir and Maharaj Parikshit. Going forward, Vidurastat abhipretya Dhartarashram abhashata Rajan nirgam yatam shingram Pashyedam bhayamagatam. Mahatma Vidur knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra saying, "My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Rajan nirgamyatam shigram." So please get out of this palace immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you. Pashyedam bhayam agatam. Cruel death cares for no one, be he Dhritarashtra or even Maharaj Yudhishthir. Therefore, spiritual instruction, as was given to old Dhritarashtra, was equally applicable to young Maharaj Yudhishthir. As a matter of fact, everyone in the royal palace, including the king and his brother and mother, were raptly attending the lectures. But it was known to Vidur that his instructions were specially meant for Dhritarashtra, who was too materialistic. The word Rajan is specially addressed to Dhritarashtra significantly. Dhritarashtra was the eldest son of his father, and therefore, according to the law, he was to be installed on the throne of Hastinapur. But because he was blind from birth, he was disqualified from the rightful claim. But he could not forget the bereavement, and his disappointment was somewhat compensated after the death of Pandu, his younger brother. His younger brother left behind him some minor children, and Dhritarashtra became the natural guardian of them. But at heart, he wanted to become the factual king and hand the kingdom over to his own sons headed by Duryodhana. With all these imperial ambitions, Dhritarashtra wanted to become a king, and he contrived all sort of intrigues in consultation with his brothers-in-law Shakuni. But everything failed by the will of the Lord. And at the last stage, even after losing everything, men and money, he wanted to remain as a king. Being the eldest uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthir, as a matter of duty, maintained Dhritarashtra in royal honor. And Dhritarashtra was happily passing away his numbered days in the illusion of being a king or the royal uncle of King Yudhishthir. Vidura, as a saint and as the duty-bound, affectionate youngest brother of Dhritarashtra, wanted to awaken Dhritarashtra from his slumber of being a false king driven to disease and old age by the force of powerful time. Vidura asked him to get out immediately if he wanted to be saved from the fearful situation which was approaching him fast. He did not ask Maharaj Yudhishthir in that way because he knew that a king like Maharaj Yudhishthir is aware of the fearful situation of this flimsy world and would take care of himself in due course, even though Vidura might not be present at that time. Pratikriyana yasyeha kutashtit karhichit prabhu staisha bhagavan kala sarvesham na samagata. This frightful situation cannot be remedied by anything or any person in this material world. My Lord, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the eternal time Kala that has approached us all. So he is addressing Dhritarashtra as Prabhu. Kutaschit karhichit Prabhu, my Lord. And what is this emergency? What is this frightful situation for which so much he is forcing Dhritarashtra to quit the house? He says, what has approached? the Supreme Lord has approached in his feature as Kal, as death personified. So Prabhupada says that that can come to anyone anytime. So our situation is also no different than the situation of Dhritarashtra. There is no superior power which can check the cruel hands of death. No one wants to die, however acute one bodily sufferings may be. Even in these days of so-called scientific advancement of knowledge, there is no remedial measure either for old age or for death. Old age is the notice of the arrival of death served by cruel time, and no one can refuse to accept either summon calls or the supreme judgment of eternal time. This is explained before Dhritarashtra because he might order Vidura to find out some remedial measure for the imminent fearful situation, as Dhritarashtra had ordered many times before. Before Vidura was so ordered, however, he informed Dhritarashtra that there was no remedial measure by anyone or from any source in this material world. And because there is no such thing in the material world that is identical with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it is said by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 9:19. What is the verse 9:19? Krishna says, Amritam cheva mrityushe. I am immortality and I am also the death personified. So many times Prabhupada used to say that if we do not become Krishna conscious, so ultimately we will meet Krishna. At the time of death, we will meet Krishna, but in his very blazing form, in the form of Yamaraj or Dharmaraj. Death cannot be checked by anyone or from any source within this material world. Hiranyakashipu wanted to be immortal and underwent a severe type of penance by which the whole universe trembled. And Brahma himself approached him to dissuade Hiranyakashipu from such a severe type of penance. Hiranyakashipu asked Brahma to award him the blessings of immortality. But Brahma said that he himself was subject to death, even in the topmost planet. So how could he award him the benediction of immortality? So there is death even in the topmost planet of this universe. And what to speak of other planets, which are far, far inferior in quality to Brahmalok. The residing planet of Brahmalok, however, there is the influence of, wherever there is the influence of eternal time, there is a set of tribulations. Namely birth, death, old age, disease, and all of them are invincible. Yena chayeva bhipannayam prane priyatameraphi jana sadhyo viyujyeta kemutanye dhanadibhi. Whoever is under the influence of supreme Kal, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life. And what to speak of other things such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home. So those who do not surrender to Krishna as devotees, they are forced to surrender to Krishna at the time of death, when Krishna approaches as death personified. The Prabhupada talks in the purport, a great Indian scientist busy in plan-making business was suddenly called by the invincible eternal time while going to attend a very important meeting of the planning commission. And he had to surrender his life, wife, children, house, land, etc. During the political upsurge in India and its division into Pakistan and Hindustan, so many houses, land, wealth, etc. During the upsurge in India and division of Pakistan, so many rich and influential Indians had to surrender life, property, and honor due to the influence of time. And there are hundreds and thousands of examples like that all over the world, all over the universe, which are all effects of the influence of time. Therefore, the conclusion is that there is no powerful living being within the universe who can overcome the influence of time. Many poets have written verses lamenting the influences of time. Many devastations have overtaken the universe due to the influence of time. And no one could check them by any means. Even in our own daily life, we see many things come and go in which we have no hand. But we have to suffer or tolerate them without remedial measure. That is the result of time. So I'll stop here. We'll take the verse from tomorrow. So see how much he's emphasizing, how he's preaching. He's emphasizing only one aspect, that now your final time has come. And before you are captured by death, you come with me and awaken yourself. And we will see how Dhritarashtra responds. So far, Dhritarashtra, so many times Vidurji gave. Is it for the first time Vidurji is giving advice to Dhritarashtra? No. All through his life, Vidurji gave advice to Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra never heard. He never gave any heed. Why? What was the reason? Because of his attachment. Both to remain the king, and after he passes away, that kingdom should go to his sons, led by Duryodhana. But now we will see a change in Dhritarashtra's hand. How he responds, we will see in the further verses. Any question or any discussion? We should read such sections and we should awaken ourselves. Do we know what is our number of days count here in this life? But we live as if we will live forever. We never agree that we will have to leave this world. As Prabhupada says, we will be kicked out. One fine day we will be kicked out from this world. And then what? What is our preparation? How we will face that situation? So this discourse is meant for Dhritarashtra. But what Prabhupada is saying in the comment, in his purport, that everyone, including Maharaj Yudhishthir, was hearing. Hare Krishna. कुछ नहीं है? हाँ? अहानि अहानि भूतानि गच्छन्ति यमालयम् शेष स्थावरा इच्छन्ति अतः किम आश्चर्यम् अतः परम्. This is the greatest wonder. And everything else in this world is a complete blunder. बोलिए रम्या.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, how to become serious that we can actually realize that death can come at any moment, because I don't have such seriousness or such realization.
Very good. None of us have such seriousness and such realization. Because our ignorance is very deep. We are considering the body to be soul. The soul is immortal. It does not take birth and it never dies. But the body takes birth and it dies. So by self-realization, you see, what was mentioned about Mahatma Vidur, that how was he taking the position of a spiritual leader for kings like Dhritarashtra and Yudhishthir, because he was enlightened in transcendental knowledge. So we have to cultivate this. We have to become more serious in this knowledge. We have to become more serious in the effort. One day, if we don't sleep for some time or if we don't eat, nothing will change. The body will not leave us. But if we don't hear, if we don't read, I see a new trend of people now. Some of them wanted to send sadhana card, so I gave them format. And what they have done, they have made changes in the sadhana card according to them. And what they are thinking, that they are chanting 16 rounds, this is very big favor they are doing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then they will claim that I want to come back to spiritual world. If that was true, why did Prabhupada spend a sleepless night? His sleepless life. He never slept. Why? If chanting of Hare Krishna, if we had that potency and purity to chant Hare Krishna purely and return back to Godhead, Why Prabhupada is talking about books and book distribution and BBT? So foolish and so ignorant and so self-destructive our mind is, and we want to remain the slave of our mind. You see, at this stage also Yudhishthir Maharaj is going to hear, Arjuna is going to hear what Vidura is going to say. Arjuna would have said, what I will hear, Vidur? I have heard from Krishna himself. Krishna personally gave me Bhagavad Gita, you know. Vidur, what are you going to teach me? Who can be more knowledgeable than me in this world? Krishna selected me to hear Bhagavad Gita. He has given me the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. Then what is there to hear from you? Actually, Dhritarashtra did not hear Bhagavad Gita. So now you can come and make effort to make him hear now. Is this the approach of Arjuna? No. He is welcoming Vidura as if his life has come, as if Krishna has come and is willing to hear. How many of you are hearing? How many we went for yatra? 80. Not even 8 are hearing. Why? Because they are busy. Busy in what? In eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and repeating. Repeating birth, death, old age, and disease. So how to break the cycle is becoming serious in our reading, hearing, chanting, and sharing. Everything in the life can change, but this is what is not changeable. There should not be any compromise on this. And nothing else will happen. Those who are unwanted people in our life, they will leave us. Better they leave early so that we can focus in life. Because of them, there are so many distractions and there are so many deviations. They are not serious, and because of our attachment to them, we also remain non-serious. You will see how Dhritarashtra will change now. Why? Because his Asat Sang is gone. Where was the Asat Sang coming? From his demoniac sons and from his demoniac ministers. Most importantly, what we have to change our association. And not just the physical association, the internal association. Most of the time, our association is with our mind only. And whatever the mind guides us, we are very dedicated follower. And believe me, the mind is going to guide us to go to hell. This is not my claim. This is all the acharyas are claiming. So what we have to do? We have to substitute the position of our spiritual master of our mind with the actual spiritual master. Then we will become serious, we will become sincere. As our awakening will be, so we will be very serious and sincere. So at our level, what we should do? We should be rigid. We should be very, very rigid, uncompromising in our spiritual program, in our spiritual practice. We don't make compromise. You see, Vidurji did not make compromise. He left the royal order, he left the palace. And where did he go? He went to the pilgrimage. And in the pilgrimage, what did he achieve? He achieved the association of Maitreya Rishi. And what he was doing? He was hearing. We will see from the 3rd canto till the 6th canto, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is focused around the conversation of Maitreya Muni and Vidurji. I was reading one verse today, and that verse gave me such immense happiness. Should I share with you? Huh? You want to hear
Yes,
that
Prabhuji.
verse?
Yes, Prabhuji.
See if it is open. Yes, it is open. 1 second. You can see what is it written? Yeah. Yeah, this is the verse. So after hearing for a prolonged period, so we are in the 10th canto. I have a class day after tomorrow in Bahadurgarh temple. So I was reading. So here, see what Parikshit Maharaj is saying. He's saying, Vayam, Vayam Dhanyatma Loke Guru Api Shatra Bandhava Vayam Pibamo Muhustvata Punyam Krishna Kathamritam. So how much gratitude is there in the heart of Parikshit Maharaj while he is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. He says, oh my Lord, my spiritual master. This is Parikshit Maharaj saying to Shukadev Goswami. Although we are the lowest of the Kshatriyas, Shatra Bandhava, we are glorified and benefited because we have the opportunity of always hearing from you the nectar of the pious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this Sanskrit term, Punyam Krishna Kathamritam. Krishna Kathamritam is really Punyam. And how he is accepting, that is also very glorious. Vayam Pibamo Muhustvatva Vata Punyam Krishna Kathamritam. So he is treating the Katha which is coming from Sukadev Goswami as Amrit. Not that we are forced to hear. Then that transcendental taste will not be, touched. Katha is the same. The Amrit is also there. Like every day we drink milk. But do we relish ghee in the milk? Or do we get butter in the milk? Or do we get cheese in the milk? No. For that you have to churn the milk. And if you know the art of churning, then you can achieve all. And this art is known to Parikshit Maharaj. How to hear with heart. And again he is relishing. He's saying, Pibam Krishna Kathamrita. He is drinking and is completely satisfied. So I was stuck at this verse. My chapter will begin later. That is Brahmaji's Vimohan Leela. But I always make it a point to first come to the root of from where the Katha is coming. So it takes a lot of time also. But it is worth. What is time meant for? Time is meant to get this immortal nectar of Krishna Katha. If you can taste and touch even one drop, then life is complete, perfect. Then Krishna gives also. Then Krishna releases that nectar. So I was very, very enlivened to hear the heart of Shukadev Parikshit Maharaj. How he is happy hearing Krishna Katha. When? At the time of death. At the time of death, the person is so much in anxiety. He just cannot hear. I have seen it live in front of me when I was hospitalized in AIIMS. And besides me, there was one girl who was almost to leave her body. She was there for some duration of time. We just two were there in the room. Many times I tried her to, persuade to chant Hare Krishna. She did not. She did not. There was so much of crying and howling of the family members, and they also did not allow her. What benefit can they give? Can they save her? But what could have saved her, they did not allow her. This is material life. I will go to hell and I will see that all of you who are attached to me will also go to hell. So how can they be helped? So here we are very fortunate. I told you in the beginning, there will be very few left as we will continue the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very few will be left. Those who actually want to surpass death, they will be left. Those who want to come back and remain within this cycle of birth, death, old age and disease, they cannot hear. Because by hearing, they will be liberated. So how can they hear? Because they have taken a vow to come back. For them, nectar is material life. So we should not remain a poison drinker. We should drink this immortal Amrit which Maharaj Parikshit is tasting. Okay. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, Ramya.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
If you drink nectar, if you drink Amrit, then we don't have to die. Okay. Parikshit Maharaj was not at all, in any anxiety because he was drinking that nectar. And again he is saying that. So I found this verse and I was very, very satisfied. Hare Krishna. Thank you.